Sparkle's duet with R. Kelly was the #1 R&B hip-hop song for 6 weeks.
2 years ago, promises is all I heard.
R&B artist Sparkle shared her truth on Lifetime's docuseries Surviving R. Kelly.
I don't keep my trauma or my feelings in a bottle.
She was one of the first people to publicly accuse Kelly of sexual misconduct.
You're not gonna like what's on my mind sometimes. At night I lay awake.
Kelly has been charged with multiple counts of aggravated sexual abuse.
Don't just leave. What's done in darkness always finds a way to lie.
The singer Sparkle claimed her niece was the underage girl in that infamous video featuring R. Kelly.
Been under pressure, you know my name. This ain't a pretty picture. Sometimes the truth is bitter.
Surviving R. Kelly now credits Sparkle with really being one of the first to shine a light.
You better be careful what you say to me. It don't last forever. Promise it gets better.
We got a special guest in the building. Sparkle.
What up?
Welcome.
Searching for a way to build the bridge that you let burn. You know my name. Sparkle, sparkle.
She was the woman who tried to stop R. Kelly, and somehow she became the villain. Sparkle was once on the brink of stardom, a rising R&B voice, co-signed by the Pied Piper himself. But that same connection would nearly destroy her life. Because what most people don't know is Sparkle introduced her own niece to R. Kelly, the same niece at the center of that now infamous tape. And when she spoke out, the music industry iced her out, her family turned their backs, and her career vanished overnight. But here's the twist. Sparkle didn't just witness the abuse, she warned people before the scandal broke. She made the calls, she viewed the tape, and she named names when everyone else stayed silent. So why was she the one that got punished? This is the story of how one woman tried to speak truth to power and paid the price with her career, her reputation, and her family. And it all started with a voice, a lie, and a betrayal so deep, it still hasn't healed. Because behind every survivor is someone who tried to save them. And behind Sparkle's silence is a story no one wanted you to hear. At first glance, Sparkle looked like just another R&B protege under R. Kelly's wing. She was talented, polished, and had that soulful voice that made label execs take notice. When her self-titled debut dropped in 1998, it felt like a guaranteed success. She had the backing of one of the biggest names in R&B and a hit single produced by the man himself. But here's where the story starts to split. Because the public saw Sparkle as just another one of R. Kelly's inner circle. Someone who benefited from his fame, maybe even looked the other way. After all, how could she have been so close to him for so long and not seen what was really going on? People thought she stayed quiet, that she was complicit, that maybe, just maybe, she sold her family out for a record deal. But the truth? It's not that simple. Sparkle didn't just meet R. Kelly, she brought her entire musical family into his orbit. Her brother-in-law played guitar on Kelly's albums. Her sister was in the studio, and yes, her 12-year-old niece, the niece, was introduced by Sparkle herself, hoping to give her a shot at music stardom. Now, here's where it gets messy. After she noticed something felt off, Sparkle says she started asking questions. She called her sister. She called the Department of Children and Family Services. She even confronted her own family, demanding to know why her niece was being left alone with Kelly. But by the time she saw the tape, yes, that tape, it was too late. And when she tried to go public, her family shut her out. They didn't want to talk about it, they didn't want to view the footage, and they definitely didn't want her testifying. So while everyone assumed she was part of the problem, Sparkle was already trying to blow the whistle. But in the music industry, being right doesn't always save you. And what happened next nearly ended her entire career. Here's the hot take no one wants to say out loud. Sparkle wasn't destroyed because she was wrong. She was destroyed because she was right. See, when Sparkle spoke out, she wasn't just going up against a man. She was going up against a machine. R. Kelly wasn't just a star in the late 90s, he was a cash cow. A Grammy-winning, chart-dominating, culture-shaping moneymaker. Labels, managers, producers, they all had something to lose. And Sparkle? She had the nerve to open her mouth before it was trendy, before hashtags, before documentaries, before cancel culture. She was early, and in this game, that means you're alone. Let's talk specifics. Sparkle says her breakout hit wasn't even supposed to be her song. Be Careful was released as a duet, but the way R. Kelly handled it, she didn't get full credit. And by the time she started asking questions, her second album had already been buried. She claims R. Kelly stole her song A Woman's Threat and released it as his own. No credit, no publishing, just silence. Then there's the control. Sparkle wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend. R. Kelly reportedly inserted himself into her personal life, blew up over private conversations, and used her career as leverage. She told one of his other artists that she was the only one he was taking to Interscope. And when he found out, he threatened to cancel her entire deal, and he nearly did. According to Sparkle, there was a meeting at a Chicago hotel where R. Kelly sat in front of her parents and said, "Brace yourself. Your daughter is so fine. I'd jerk off just looking at her." Right in front of her mom and dad, and nobody stopped the show. This wasn't just disrespect, this was psychological warfare, and Sparkle was stuck in the middle. So she left. She asked to be released. She walked away from the biggest name in R&B, and the door slammed shut behind her. But the industry didn't just cut ties, it punished her, and the betrayal wasn't over yet. Because what her own family did next? That's what truly broke her. If you thought the industry turning its back was brutal, wait until you hear what Sparkle's own family did. After she viewed the now infamous tape, the one that allegedly showed her underage niece, Sparkle didn't stay quiet. She sounded the alarm. She called her sister. She tried to arrange for her family to view the footage, and she begged them to confront what was happening. But instead of standing with her, her sister and brother-in-law, the parents of the actual girl in the video, went silent. Not only did they refuse to watch the tape, they told Sparkle to back off. A few hours after she tried to arrange the viewing, they shut it all down. "We don't want to see it. Don't bring it here. Don't come." And just like that, the line was drawn. Sparkle was out, estranged from her family for over 10 years. No calls, no holidays, nothing. Just silence, all because she refused to look the other way. And if that's not strange enough, her brother-in-law, the girl's father, continued working with R. Kelly, played guitar on his albums, stayed around the studio. You can't make this stuff up. Sparkle says she was isolated, humiliated, and treated like the problem, when she was the only one telling the truth. She missed out on watching her niece grow up. She was alienated at family events. And even now, she says her niece won't talk to her. To this day, Sparkle doesn't know if her family was scared, silenced, or paid off. But she does know this. "I didn't throw my niece to the wolves," she said. "I tried to protect her, and they made me the enemy for it." And while her family ghosted her, the industry didn't exactly come running with open arms either. In fact, it got even uglier from there. Now here's where it gets downright sinister. Sparkle didn't just lose her family, she lost her entire career. Because once she refused to play by R. Kelly's rules, the doors started slamming shut. Fast. Remember, this was a man with connections. Deep ones. He didn't just dominate the charts, he controlled the studio, the label politics, and the artists' futures. And Sparkle, she became a cautionary tale. Before her fallout, she had a second album in the works, songs recorded, studio time paid for, plans in motion, and then suddenly, poof, gone. One of the tracks, A Woman's Threat, was hers. Her vocals, her performance, her pain. But when the album got shelved, R. Kelly released it himself, as his own. No credit, no royalties, not even a mention. And this wasn't some clerical error. Sparkle straight up said he stole it. But it didn't stop there. She says he didn't just erase her musically, he tried to erase her personally. He allegedly told people she was difficult, that she was ungrateful, that she was causing drama behind the scenes. Translation? Don't work with her. She's radioactive. And let's be real, labels weren't lining up to back the woman going against the most bankable R&B star in the world. So Sparkle did what most women in the industry were too scared to do at the time. She walked away. She chose her integrity over the spotlight, and the industry punished her for it. While R. Kelly went on to release hits like Ignition and Step in the Name of Love, Sparkle was stuck trying to explain why her album never came out and why her name had become taboo. Radio silence. No PR teams. No second chances. She went from performing on national stages to watching from the sidelines. And when the documentary Surviving R. Kelly came out years later, that should have been her moment to clear her name, right? Wrong. because even that got twisted. When Surviving R. Kelly dropped in 2019, it shook the world. For the first time, people were finally paying attention to what had been swept under the rug for decades. And Sparkle? She was front and center in the series. But even with all the raw emotion and shocking revelations, Sparkle says something still didn't sit right. The documentary left out critical parts of her story. To the world, it looked like Sparkle had simply thrown her niece to the wolves and backed away. But she says the real story is way messier and a whole lot more painful. For starters, she says she never left her niece in the studio unsupervised. Not once. She had called her sister when she got wind of the shady behavior. She had questioned the people around Kelly. She had alerted the Department of Children and Family Services before the tape surfaced. But those details didn't make the final cut. And while the world praised her bravery for testifying, Sparkle was left frustrated, saying, "They made it look like I was complicit, like I let it happen. But I was the one sounding the alarm." There's more. She sat in that interview chair for 4.5 hours. Out of a 6-part series, she got just a handful of minutes. And the editing left out key context, like the fact that she genuinely believed the whole Aaliyah marriage rumor was a hoax back in the day. She wasn't ignoring signs. She was being lied to like everyone else. And maybe the biggest bombshell? She believes R. Kelly himself was behind the sudden silence from her family after the tape viewing. She doesn't have proof, but she knows something changed that day. "I called them. They were ready to view the tape. And then, nothing. Just silence, like someone got to them." So even when she told her truth on national TV, Sparkle still wasn't fully heard, and the people who should have backed her, still keeping their distance. But the backlash didn't stop with editing choices. It followed her right back into her everyday life, and it got ugly. After the documentary aired, you'd think the world would finally rally around Sparkle, the first woman who dared to speak up. But instead of praise, she got something else entirely: hate. Sparkle says social media turned into a war zone. People called her a snitch, a sellout. Some even accused her of leaking the tape. Yup, there were rumors that she released the most damning evidence against R. Kelly. Let that sink in. Instead of focusing on the predator, people weaponized the spotlight against the woman who tried to stop him. She started receiving threats, creepy messages, people telling her to watch her back. And not just from strangers. Some of the threats came from people within the industry. The irony? R. Kelly was still dropping music, still had supporters, still being streamed. And Sparkle? She was scraping together a second act from the ashes. But don't get it twisted. Sparkle didn't disappear. She regrouped. She released a single called "We Are Ready" in 2018, right in the middle of the Me Too movement. The lyrics were bold, defiant, and deeply personal, and she didn't pocket the profits either. A portion of the proceeds went to support victims and advocacy groups. She was still fighting, just with a mic this time. She even moved to Vegas and performed in Toni Braxton's residency show for 3 years. Quietly, out of the spotlight. It wasn't the fame she once knew, but it was stability. Peace, a lifeline. And yet, her family, still not talking to her. Her niece, silent. Her sister, estranged. Sparkle says she's back where she was a decade ago, grieving a family that chose silence over truth. But here's the thing that makes Sparkle's story so tragic and so powerful. She's still standing. She's still speaking, still creating, still demanding justice, not just for her niece, but for all the girls who were ignored, erased, and betrayed. And her music, it's no longer about charts, it's about truth. So what is Sparkle's legacy really? So where is Sparkle now? After everything, the scandal, the betrayal, the death threats, the industry blackout, you'd expect her to vanish completely. And for a while, she did. Not out of fear, but out of self-preservation. Because let's be honest, when the price of telling the truth is your career, your family, and your safety, most people would fold. But Sparkle didn't. She resurfaced with purpose. Her 2018 single, "We Are Ready," wasn't just a comeback. It was a statement. It addressed the moment, the movement, and the silence that surrounded her for years. It was raw, empowering, and unapologetic. And more importantly, it proved she still had something to say. In interviews, she's remained clear. This was never about clout. It was about protecting her niece, holding predators accountable, and calling out an industry that let it all happen in plain sight. These days, Sparkle is working on a new EP, reclaiming her voice on her own terms. No big machine behind her, no scandal-driven marketing team, just her. She lives in Chicago, far from the Hollywood lights, but close enough to the truth she's been telling since 2001. And while she may not top the Billboard charts again, that's not the legacy she's chasing. She'll be remembered as the one who spoke out when it mattered most, as the artist who risked it all for family and lost them in the process, as the woman who warned the world before the world was ready to listen. Final net worth? Reports estimate Sparkle's current net worth at around $300,000, a fraction of what her career could have been had she stayed silent. But what she gave up in money, she gained in principle. And that can't be measured in chart positions or streaming numbers, because Sparkle's legacy isn't built on fame, it's built on truth. And in an industry built on secrets, that makes her one of the rarest voices of all.